Yalak Emet channel, Twitter, YouTube, Patreon, and it is September 3rd, 2020. My lesson today is titled Out of Place. I'll begin with Genesis chapter 37 and verse 5. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. Some people will tell you don't speak certain things to other people because they might fight against you. Well, while that's a good idea, you're still going to get fought against. And we look at that in personal kinds of ways, this friend that don't like me and so on, and they come against me for a certain reason, they're jealous and so on. But if we look holistically in dealing with just humanity, we see that there was a time when a people lived well on the earth, and then another people came and conquered them and just started showing massive hate, killing and slaughtering them. So the war is just going to come against you, whether you're a group or just an individual. So if you don't speak it, it's going to come. Of course, you're going to try and be careful in what you say in certain environments and to certain people. But I'm just letting you know it's just going to come to you in a way. Genesis says that Adam and Eve were in the garden. It doesn't let us know that they were fighting with the serpent and trying to do any harm to him. But he just came and did harm to them, trying to convince them to live other than how the Most High told them. So basically, he brought war against them and disrupted their lives, even though they were living right. Joseph's ministry, if I can call it that, to put it in our Christian kind of way today that I learned growing up, was not actually in Canaan. It was not where his family was and where his father was. He didn't even seek to get back to the other fathers before him. His ministry was not in Israel, where all the great prophets would later be found, but his ministry was actually in Egypt, the place where they tell us today, as well as make us feel that in the Bible that it was a sinful place, wicked. But you see all the Torah-based people today and all the New Testament-based people today, whichever religion they are, that they use Old Testament and New Testament, and they claim, both Old and New Testament people, that they are the children of God and the chosen of God. They are the righteous of God. But they, along with the quote-unquote sinners or transgressors of the earth in other religions that are not like theirs or who don't even care about religion, they, the righteous who call in the name of God, along with the sinners on earth, all go to search out Egypt. And those who can't go there to see the place for themselves and do the investigations, excavations, and so on, they just go and buy videos and books to learn about Egypt. So what we're finding is that these chosen of God, the Torah-based people and the New Testament Son of God people who say God chose them, and even the New Testament one says he has a mansion for them. And the Old Testament people who say the Most High is going to bring back their kingdom on earth and put them back in Jerusalem. They all are looking into the place that is seriously cursed by Bible people and by modern day people, Egypt. They run there to see the destroyed, broken down, or deserted kingdom. When they say they are looking forward to another kingdom by their God who has saved them and called them to sit down and wait for a resurrection of their mansions in the land of Israel or their many mansions in heaven from Jesus. They all put that out of their mind for a little bit, just to run back to a broken down kingdom in Egypt to research what they said their God cursed and destroyed when he destroyed the Pharaoh and brought down the kingdom of Egypt. And they are looking heavily with their money at the place, the kingdom of sin. Trying to investigate how come people who were cursed by the Lord, the children of Ham, could have been so great at one point that in my righteous calling and salvation from God in modern times, not just in old times, but in modern times, still desire to go back to Egypt to search out the things of Satan. And they say the Spirit of the Lord is in them. So God cursed this place, but they flock back to it to see. Not just to see what God did, because usually they don't speak of it like that. They're trying to go back to see what the people did, the sinful people of Egypt. They're trying to connect with the mystery of man instead of putting all their money and their efforts into the mystery of what God is doing in their life now. In fact, these same Bible-based people are doing the same thing and desiring the same thing as the other sinners on earth who don't know their God. If they could all rebuild ancient Egypt, they certainly would, and they would even claim it as their own, even though they are not the owners. They were never even connected to it. So if they could resurrect Egypt, they would. But they say their God cursed it. And they make replicas of the place, of the land, even on computer screens with software. And they try to mimic all that they see in Egypt, even the dress and the little mini pyramids that they try to make somewhere, and the lifestyle of Egypt in certain ways, the thinking of Egypt is in their different communities all over the earth in every country. So, especially even in the West, that's Christian based on the Bible. They live by like a silent code of the Egyptians in how they run governments, and how they run their companies, and how they lay out the structure of their lands and so on. And many will tell you even America is Egypt. And they say, look at this, the location of this city and that city and so on, and this river and so on. And so we find that they cursed the place in modern times, Egypt, because they said God cursed it in old times, even in the Bible. And God destroyed it. He didn't just simply destroy the land and bring it down, but he destroyed the pharaohs, the kings. He just totally destroyed even the army. He got rid of the place. God cursed Egypt. But when we read the Bible now, this same God seems to clearly actually have moved this man with a promise that he got a dream from God, the God of the Bible, Joseph. He moved him from the land of Canaan, moved him from the land of Israel, moved him from the land of God into the land of devil worshippers, the Hamite Africans or the Egyptians. So God moves the man from the land of blessing from his father, because the blessing of God, Yahweh, was in the land of the house of his father and his brothers, and moved him into the place of a curse. God moved him out of place, out of the land of God, and moved him into the land, might I say, of the devil. Moved him to Egypt. Now, there are different ways I can go with that. But for this lesson, let me just choose one of them. That even in the land of Satan, or the place of a curse, while Joseph went through terrible things there, it was in the land of a curse and the time of a curse on his life, the way we would look at it today, that he actually rose to excellence in his life, even though Joseph was out of place. So sometimes we look at the situations in our lives and we put it down. I started out so great in church. I started out so great in my life. I started out with a lot of promise in school. I started out so well with my family, and I had so many people around me, all kinds of friends, well-wishers, everything. I had everything going well for me. But look at what things have turned out to be. But it was the same stuff Joseph was saying. Look at what I turned out to be. Just someone sitting in slavery with a prison as my house. And you look at the house you are in right now, the life you are in right now, the marriage you are in right now, the situations you have to deal with on your job, the situations you have to deal with in general. And you say, I'm trapped, I can't get out, I am in a prison. But you have to understand that if you only keep saying you are in a prison, it's going to work against you moving into another time in your life. You have to speak the things you desire, the things you want, and not just focus on the negative that's actually present and going on. If Joseph only looked at the bars of a cell, the walls of a prison, the guards in that prison complex, and said, I live here. This is my place now and forever. I will never get out. Then he would just live in there and never get out. If he looked at the guards and said to himself, I can never get out of this place because these are soldiers here guarding the prison. I am not an army man myself. I have no army training. I don't have the weapons they have. I don't have the skill to fight. I'm not even built like that. Then it would just become his prison forever. But because in his mind, he was that which was bowed down to. Because in his mind, sun, moon, and stars reverenced him, if I can put it that way. Then he saw himself with an amount of godliness that would make sun, moon, and stars bow and look at him and wonder at this man. Even though we today, just like himself, would have many times stayed on the ground and looked up at the stars and wondered at them and wondered at the moon and wondered at the sun. But in his mind, when he got into that place, the sun, moon, and the stars were just getting ready to wonder at him, even though he had to go through for a while. If you do not change your mind to focus on your dream and to focus on what you really, truly, deeply believe in inside your heart, you will risk staying there forever. You must change your mind and change your thoughts and focus on the positive. Focus on your dream. Focus on your true desires in spite of the prison you are surrounded with, in spite of the people who lock you in spite of some people are in your life they were just singing your praises some time ago. They were just encouraging you and telling you whatever and wanting to work along with you, even though sometimes they wanted you to help them with their stuff, but they were still encouraging you about yours and so on. But the moment you decide to move toward their stuff, or the moment you get deeper into your trouble and can't quite help them the same way anymore, they turn against you. Because now you don't mean as much to them anymore, because they can't get from you what they thought they would get, so all of a sudden you must be destroyed. But when the brothers tried to destroy Joseph, the Most High is probably saying, great, because now I can build him. Like when a child breaks down a sandcastle at the beach, it's now time that they can use that pile of sand to build a fresh new structure. So Genesis 37 verse 5, it says, after he told them the dream, it says, and they hated him yet the more. And they hated him yet the more. Just make up your mind now that when you begin to change toward fulfilling your desires that the Most High put in you, whatever is coming against you will come yet the more. Whoever and whatever is coming against you will even move you out of place. Move you out of the place where you think you should be all right. And so their hate was odious, and he received, for the telling of his dream, their stinking behavior. And he must have been wondering, is this my family? Are these my brothers? And they got him shipped off to a different place, going into a prison to work as a slave. And they knew all the horrible things he would endure. But they did it anyway. And that is exactly why they did it. They no longer wanted him receiving a gift from his father, receiving any kind of goodness from the Father, receiving any goodness from God. They wanted him to be a recipient of curses, of difficulties, of hard times. They knew exactly what they were doing. It was a choice they made. And they moved him, pressured him out of place, put him in a different spot. And life's going to bring all kinds of things against you. So have you been shipwrecked away from the environment you've always known? Have you been moved out of place? The place of comfort, the place where you thought your dreams were going to come together. Have you been moved out of place? Let me read here from Job chapter 19, a lot of verses 6 to 22. I'll try to read it through fast. Maybe I might not read all of it. But Job 19, starting at verse 6, Know now that God hath overthrown me, and hath compassed me with his net. So he's trapped in this net. Behold, I cry out of wrong, but I am not heard, because you're saying something has gone wrong. I'm receiving wrong. Basically he's saying, I don't deserve this. And you're going to question yourself sometimes, do I really deserve all of this? After all the good I did? Sure, I didn't always do everything right, but based on all I did, is this evil that has come to me, did I truly deserve this much? You can get so much evil from people that it will knock you out of your place. And you have to try to move quickly into a different situation just to continue to preserve your life. You see, I might do a lesson on this later on. But there's a reason that is not explained properly in the story why Joseph took so long in prison. Yeah, I think I'll do a lesson on that some other time. But just understand that Joseph needed some time in prison before his dream would come to pass. And so you might just need that amount of time to go through what you're going through, to bring out the person you need to be. He says, I'm not heard when I cry out and say something is wrong. This is evil being done against me. I cry aloud, but there is no judgment. He hath fenced up my way that I cannot pass. He hath set darkness in my paths, stripped me of my glory, taken the crown from my head, destroyed me on every side. I am gone, and mine hope hath he removed like a tree, just ripped up that tree out of the ground. He has also kindled his wrath against me, and counteth me unto him as one of his enemies. And the kind of evil, the level of hatred you are going through, it just looks like only God could have done this to you. Verse 14, my kinsfolk have failed, and my familiar friends have forgotten me. Truly deserted is how you will sometimes feel. They that dwell in mine house and my maids count me for a stranger. So the closest of people, the ones who live actually in his house, treated him like he does not have any authority or power or welcome in his own house. It made him feel like his life did not matter to them. I am an alien in their sight. I called my servant, and he gave me no answer. I entreated him with my mouth, and he gave him no answer, he's saying. So the servant can still recognize the voice, because when you know someone well enough, you just know their voice. That's the person. Even if you didn't hear them properly, you know that's their voice. They're saying something. So he said, "Pardon me," or you go over and you look and he said, "What were you saying? I didn't hear that properly." So the servant could tell it was Job, but the servant didn't care, period. That's the level that he sunk to, till where the voice of importance doesn't matter anymore. And it's like this, the same for Job. It's like in your life sometimes the Most High has ripped up your authority, the value of your presence out of your very house, out of your place of work, ripped you up out of your religious center. And now people don't care anything about you anymore. God can do that. My breath is strange to my wife, though I entreated for the children's sake of my own body. Yea, though young children despise me, I arose, and they spake against me. So even the young children, they despised him. So he thought he would take a stand and reimpose his authority and so on, and try to show his dominance there in the house, and that they're my children and I'm your father. Have some respect. Young children did that to him. So he arose to try to reassert himself, and they spake against him. His dominance was lost. All my friends abhorred me, and they whom I loved are turned against me. My bone cleaveth to my skin, and my flesh, and I am escaped with the skin of my teeth. He's hungry. He's lost so much of his money. Livestock, everything run down. Everything, you can bet even the house was running down. Everything was gone. Respect was lost from those who were close to him. They made up their faces, their eyes like fire, their faces looking like a dragon at him, like a dragon, like some wild beast ready to devour him, because things had gone the different way with him, had changed. And now there was no respect, no love, just hatred and cursing non-stop. They treated him like his glory was dead. So he says, why do you persecute me as God? And you are not satisfied with my flesh. See, what's happening here is that Job was moved out of place. He was no longer the person they were all used to. Situation changed. You're trying to reconnect with your family, with your friends, with the system you knew, but for one reason or another, things have changed. But I'm telling you, don't doubt yourself anymore, or your future any longer. You could have been moved out of place, but what you call a dilemma in life could actually be moving you into the position the Most High really wants you to be. Let's read one last scripture from Psalm 142. He said he made supplication unto the Lord for all he was going through. Then I'll pick up at verse 2. I poured out my complaint before him. I showed before him my trouble. When my spirit was overwhelmed within me, then thou knewest my path. In the way wherein I walked, have they privily laid a snare for me. So people weren't even satisfied with what was going on with him. They were even laying traps. They're trying to make sure this guy is done for. I cried unto the Lord. I said, Thou art my refuge and my portion in the land of the living. Attend unto my cry, for I am brought very low. Deliver me from my persecutors, for they are stronger than I. Bring my soul out of prison, that I may praise thy name. The righteous shall compass me about, for thou shalt deal bountifully with me. And that's how you have to look at it. That only the Most High can hear your cry and do anything about it. That there will come a change that will surround you. Even if you are in the place of Satan, the place of the prison, the place where they are telling you is the place of a curse from God. In that place, you still have to believe. Because that very place, when people say you have been moved out of place, and you have to look at it and admit, I'm no longer where I used to be and what I used to be. I've become someone different. I am out of place, permanently so. But I'm here to tell you, out of place is where you will do your greatest work, even in a place designed by hardship. See, where you begin when you had the dream like Joseph had, and he told him, where you begin when you said you first got saved, where you begin when you first found Hebrew Israelite, where you begin when things were very nice, all the support was around you, and you got the initial training to accomplish this and accomplish that, might not necessarily be where you will accomplish this and accomplish that. Because the Most High will move you around in life through situations that look like it's people doing it to you. But the Lord, like the scripture says I read earlier, to Job, he says he has become even mine enemy. The Most High will move you into situations, and he will even become your enemy for a time. And you will think it's people doing it to you. Only God can do this to you. Now I want to show you something that you don't get easily when you read the Bible, even though it's the Torah with Joseph's life. And you don't get it easily even in modern times when people tell you about the story of Joseph. But remember when I talked at the start about how both the saved and the unsaved, the righteous and the unrighteous, the Torah people and the New Testament people, along with all the quote-unquote sinners on earth who don't even care about God, the atheists and so on, all the people of the earth, whether they say they believe in God or not, they go back to this place that many biblically blessed people call the place of a curse, Egypt, and that God moved through there with death angels and many curses and destroyed the place and destroyed the army and so on. It was the place of a curse. It's like the place of Satan with all their magic and so on. And people who read the Bible and are saved in church and religious settings keep cursing Egypt even today, saying, don't go back to Egypt, don't go back to Egypt, don't trust Egypt. It's all a trick. Bible-based teachings, even from Torah-based people, will make you hate Egypt in the Bible. But the fact is, when you take a look at it again for yourself, it was the very place that they tell you is the place of the devil, that God took Joseph to bring his dreams to pass. Because God might have given Joseph a powerful dream, but the dream could not be injected with its power and then have its dream power extracted to push that power into his life, out of his dream and into his life. It could not have been done outside of Egypt, but it could have been done outside of Canaan. It could have been done outside of Israel. It could have been done outside of Beulah land. Why? Because in Egypt that they told you to curse, in Egypt that they said don't go back down to Egypt, in Egypt was the place where alone God could do this mighty, marvelous, powerful work in Joseph's life. Who the later prophets of Egypt, of Israel, and all the later writings in the Torah and the Bible would come out of the lineage of this man, who some of you even say with Christ that his lineage links back to Joseph and so on. God did his greatest work in Egypt, the place where they tell you is the place of Satan and devils and magic and so on. Just where you find yourself in the place of a curse is the very place where if you will begin to speak positively about it, God will do his greatest work in your life. Hello. In the place where you find the most defeat, and you say, I'm truly removed from where I was, I am out of place. And people will remind you, yeah, but you used to be like this, you used to do that, and you used to. They're trying to put you through a guilt trip to make you feel like you should leave the place of a curse where you are at. But it is in the cradle of that curse that God's going to bring his greatest work out of your life. Even with the Bible story, as much as more information has now come out about this whole story of Moses and so on, being story from Egypt and so on. But even in the way the Bible puts it, that he was put in this basket and sailed down the river for a place of hiding and safety, it looked like it was a place of curse. Because how can a mother send away their baby to let them be on their own, and the baby can't even walk and take care of itself? But in the waters, in the place of a curse, the Most High still brought his plan out in the life of Moses. You can look like you are just sailing along because they have bumped you and pushed you, all the people that was around you who said they knew you and they vouched for you and they loved you and they cared for you, and they were just your biggest supporters, your online supporters, your clickers, and your money givers that supported your ministry and so on, and everyone who gave you all the excess knowledge you didn't have, and they were supporting you. But now they're the same ones who have pushed you away from them. And you feel you have no control now. You can't even paddle and row the boat yourself. You are just sailing along at the mercy of the water and at the wind. But in the very place of a curse, you are sailing and moving along to the place where God wants you to be. Even when you look, you are sailing deeper and deeper in being out of place. Why do you continue to doubt yourself? Just because you are out of place is no reason for you to become more negative. You should speak the things that you want, the things that you desire, the things that you wish to create, the things that you want to see in your life. You should move only toward that. Have it in your very being and let it come out of your spirit. Let it come out of your very mouth. Let it be seen in your eyes when you look in the mirror. Let it be seen in your very posture. Let it be seen in your very walk. Let it be seen in the very choices you make. I'm not here to tell you you are not actually out of place, because you could very well be out of place. But I'm here to tell you about perspective, that you must have acceptance in life. Accept that I am out of place, if that's what it really is. But at the same time, there is a duality in life. You must also accept that you are still in the right place where God wants you to be. Like they say, it could be the worst of times, but the best of times. Because you could look like you're out of place because you're not with the environment you used to be in, but it is still the right place for you. Joseph was out of place, away from his family, cut off from all of them. Joseph was in the wrong place, cut off from family, cut off from his father, who he knew would speak up for him if he knew all these things, and who would help guide him along. He was out of place, cut off from what he knew, but he was still in the right place, because we know how the story ends, that he became ruler in the land of Egypt. And keep this one thing in mind as I say goodbye. All the things they told you about where you are, they are all lies. See, your life will begin to change when you understand that moving through this life is largely about perspective. The Most High will even put you through it to see if you've got the right perspective that will bring your miracle. He was in the right place with his family in Canaan, and the Most High moved him through the evil of his brothers into what looked like it was a wrong place. And so he looked like he was out of place. It was up to Joseph to decide, I am not really out of place. I am in the right place still. Because it is the dream perspective that determines, am I in the right place or out of place? You look like you're out of place, Joseph, but you are in the right place, because the Pharaoh will not notice you living in your father's house, but he can notice you when you are in the prison house that he set up. The prison system in Egypt, the prison system in slavery, the prison system of the Pharaoh that the Pharaoh had power over was the very system that provided the right environment and the right place that was conducive to the rise of Joseph. Where you are, that you have been pushed out of place and punched out of place and knocked out of place and kicked with their heels, that they kicked you with out of your position, was just kicking you into the right place that looks to everybody else that it's the wrong place. When you change your perspective, you will understand they kicked you out of place, but you are still in the right place, because the place is not where your feet stands. The place is where your dream stands. If your dream remains in your heart like it did with Joseph, you will always be in the right place, because the place is not where you move to. The place is a position inside of your mind. Because where my dream lives is always the right place. I carry the place inside of me. Wherever I go, that place goes with me. Wherever my dream lives, as long as it lives, I'm still in the right place. You can move me out of Canaan, like you can move me out of my father's house and move me into a prison, but I'm still in the right place, because the Lord takes down one and sets up another. As long as there is my God sitting on the throne in heaven, I will not be denied his miracle, because he put his miracle in my dream. If you keep that dream alive and you keep that hope alive, your miracle is still alive. So you thought you were going to get the miracle inside your father's house, inside the house of your marriage, inside the house of your children, inside the place where you were born, inside the ministry you started, but they kicked you out of it, inside of the place where you worked. But the Most High just wants you to know today, your miracle is not determined by that, by all of those things and all of those scenarios. It is determined by what you think of the dream that I placed into your heart. So Joseph practiced his dream. He rehearsed it every day and night in his mind, because he knew, I'm still in the right place. I'm still in the right place. I am not in the wrong place. So the dream led him to praying a prayer he did not even understand, because there will come a time when you have the right perspective, the dream will take over so much that it's not you speaking anymore. It will speak for you. That's why the Bible says a man's gift will take him before great men. It will make room for him. So the dream comes to a place now. The man will come to a place. You will come to a place where your dream will take over and move you, usher you into the next stage in your life. He was praying, he thought, but it was a dream praying, because he thought he was saying, hey, talk to the Pharaoh for me, because I was actually hated on and I was brought into this place. I'm not a thief, a robber, and so on. I wasn't doing illegal stuff and so on. I'm a righteous person. My brothers got me into this spot. Speak to the Pharaoh for me. Speak to the leader for me. Speak to the ruler. Speak to the one that has power. It was the dream that was kept alive, that activated and said, now it is time. And the dream waited till the people who were close to him, who had a connection to the Pharaoh, got back to the Pharaoh. One died, one got back to the presence of the Pharaoh. Then the dream activated the miracle and said, aha, now you're beside the Pharaoh. You once knew him because you lived beside him down there in that prison. Now open your mouth. It is time for the next stage of this dream. I command this miracle. That's what was really coming out of Joseph's spirit when he said, speak to him for me. The dream was taking over and actualizing it. See, if he was left in the pit and somebody came and found him and rescued him, he would say, can you take me back to my father? And they would take him directly to the father. But the dream was still there in his heart, and the dream led him all the way, even through hatred, right to the presence of the Pharaoh, to people who could say, not that I will take you to your father, but that would say, I will take your word to the Pharaoh. It might have still taken him a while, but the dream said, take this man's story direct to the Pharaoh. If you can learn to have the right perspective with your dreams that you once believed in, the things you once longed for and desired in the deepest parts of you, it will take you there no matter what. If you can believe and trust in the Most High, you will understand that it looks on the left hand that I'm out of place, but when you look on the other hand, you will admit and say to yourself, based on your right perspective, I'm still not out of place. I am in the right place. It's like the two sides to a coin. Out of place, but I'm still in the right place. It's like the cycles. The sun goes around one day, one moment it looks like it's sunny, it's hot, it's midday, and then it goes away, it's now nighttime. And then the next day it comes back around. The moon, you're seeing it ruling dominant in the sky. Then it goes away, then it comes back. You got the new moon, it goes away, quarter moon and whatever the different phases. Then it comes back around and you say it's a new moon. The dream will look like it's taking you out of place. The evil, the hatred is out of place. Even the one who hated him to not bring the word to the Pharaoh right away. He says, look, when you get up there, tell the Pharaoh. But he kept his mouth shut. That was a form of evil, to just ignore him even though Joseph helped him. Helped him with the confidence to get back into the Pharaoh's good graces. But he kept his mouth shut to show evil unto Joseph. But his goodness came back around and he said, I will help this man. I will open my mouth. I know someone who can help you. You're out of place. You tell yourself. It's like two sides to a coin. It's like night and day, a duality in nature, in life, in existence. If you say you are out of place, you must now go through a time of giving some time to saying, I am still in place. I still have my dreams. You said all along, my dreams are done for, they are washed up. You must now begin to speak the word and to say, it is not over yet. My God still lives.